The two negations, the materialist denial. He energized conscious force in the austerity of thought and came to the knowledge that matter is the Brahman. For from matter all existences are born. Born by matter, they increase and enter into matter in their passing hence. Then he went to Varuna, his father, and said, Lord, teach me of the Brahman. But he said to him, energize again the conscious energy in thee, for the energy is Brahman. आई थिंक वे ये वाला है ना, ये एपिसोड जो हम तैत्रीय उपनिषद का उसमें से देख रहे थे, जिसमें ही सेंड्स टू हिम टू चेक आउट अगेन एंड अगेन, है ना? ऐसा होता है ना, एक पहले एक बार वो रिफ्लेक्ट करके आता है, फिर और सटलर और सटलर और सटलर, है ना? The affirmation of a divine life upon earth and an immortal sense in mortal existence can have no base unless we recognize not only eternal spirit as the inhabitant of this bodily mention, the wearer of this mutable robe, but accept matter of which it is made as a fit and noble material out of which he weaves constantly his garbs, builds recurrently the unending series of his mentions. This also, I think we have touched upon. Nor is this even enough to guard us against a recoil from life in the body, unless with the Upanishads, perceiving behind their appearances the identity in essence of these two extreme terms of existence, we are able to say in the very language of those ancient writings, matter also is Brahman, and to give its full value to the vigorous figure by which the physical universe is described as the external body of the divine being. And this also correlates, jaise Isha Upanishad mein, when they say all the creation is for the habitation of the Lord. Isha vasya sarvam idam, है ना? मेरे ख्याल से ये वाला है. Not so far divided apparently are these two extreme terms, is that identification convincing to the rational intellect if we refuse to recognize a series of ascending terms, life, mind, supermind, and the grades that link mind to supermind. So this is the evolutionary process, out of the inconscient came first the life, then mind, and overmind, higher mind, intuitive mind, whatever the series, supermind, the grades that link mind to supermind. Between spirit and matter, series of ascending terms. Otherwise, the two must appear as irreconcilable opponents bound together in an unhappy wedlock, and their divorce the one reasonable solution. Yeah. To identify them, to represent each in the terms of the other, becomes an artificial creation of thought, opposed to the logic of facts, and possible only by an irrational mysticism. So I think we had, if I'm not wrong, we had stopped here. यहाँ इसके आगे का हमने मुझे लगता नहीं है किया है. ये वाला मुझे है ना,
फिर पढ़ेंगे तो we'll know more.
ये याद नहीं आ रहा मुझे.
Yeah.
So let us go ahead. अगर आप कर सकते हो शुरू, देखो. Now it's allowing me to color. That's good.
You know, it's so it's hitting me even strongly, more strongly than last time, that how in you know, in the second thing, or maybe the first, I don't know, chapter of Life Divine itself, yes, so strongly mentioned that we cannot forsake matter, है ना? जैसे वही that day we were discussing कि how in Vedantic terms, है ना, body is something that has to be negated. It has to be, because that was probably what was needed at that time, right? To get out of that nature of the body, that it doesn't matter, right? Like what you have, what you are is much greater, but Sri Aurobindo has said it's not possible anymore, right? It would be artificial. And yeah, I'll start. If we assert only pure spirit and a mechanical, unintelligent substance or energy, calling one God or soul and the other nature, the inevitable end will be that we shall, I think it kara tha, that we shall either deny God or else turn from nature. है ना? We had read that. For both thought and life, a choice then becomes imperative. Thought comes to deny the one as an illusion of the imagination, or the other as an illusion of the senses. Life comes to fix on the immaterial and flee from itself in a disgust or a self forgetting ecstasy, or else to deny its own immortality and take its orientation away from God and towards the animal. Next, I'll move on. Purusha and Prakriti, the passive luminous soul of the Sankhyas, and their mechanically active energy have nothing in common, not even their opposite modes of inertia. Their antinoms can only be resolved by the cessation of the inertly driven activity into the immutable repose upon which it has been casting in vain the sterile procession of its images. This we should start on Purusha and Prakriti today.
हाँ ये ठीक है, यहाँ से कर लेते हैं. हाँ यहाँ से कर लेते हैं. So मतलब जैसे बात होती है ना कि when we talk of resolution in marriages, for example, then the ultimate thing is that तुझे ना मेरी समझ आ रही है ना मेरे को तेरी समझ में आ रही है. So okay, the happiest solution is, if not the happiest, but the possible solution is parting ways, or the divorce. So here, since they were talking about it as a wedlock, unhappy marriage. So Purusha and Prakriti, the passively luminous soul of the Sankhyas, the witnessing aspect, and their mechanically active energy have nothing in common, not even their opposite modes of inertia. Their antinomies, their differences, clashes, can only be resolved by the cessation of the inertly driven activity into the immutable repose upon which it has been casting in vain the sterile procession of its images. So it just takes a repose, and that would be it. Since there is no harmony possible. In fact, on this, there was something by Dr. Alok Pandey. He was talking of harmony and peace. Beautiful difference, very little small patch. So he shared, where there is peace, there is like a passive kind of a situation, as if there is not a multitude of things. For example, if I am alone at home, there is peace. But if I am 10 people at home, Then what we need maybe is harmony. And when we talk of harmony, beauty, harmony, these aspects of the divine, so जब harmony की बात करते हैं तो उसमें क्या है, उसमें between the multiple parts of my being, as if a samanjasya like is required, a kind of a stability and coordination and interaction, a very delicate balance, one can say. So he did not say in these words, he just said that in harmony we have multitude, basically. That's why I need harmony. But in peace there is no multitude there, no obvious multitude. It may be in pregnancy, like pregnant multitude, but not the obvious multitude. And that's why when we talk of supermind, now not really having an idea what may it be, but still reflecting upon whatever limitation, तो उसमें क्या है, supermind में जैसे Sri Aurobindo says that everything comes into a right picture when we take it from the supramental point of view. So that मतलब उसमें हमारे एक तो टुच्चापन भी नजर आता है कि we keep on kind of fighting with each other कि तू सही है कि मैं सही हूँ, अच्छा तेरा point ठीक है या मेरा point ठीक है. But unfortunately with our limits, the perception of the mind, with remaining within the mind, we will never be able to reach a harmonious place. That's the beauty, as if this has to be. And when we talk of supermind, to me it also comes that it is also an opening of the inner heart. The supermind is not just mental, it's also related to the wisdom of the inner heart, I believe, because there also all differences dissolve. They're also, you're able to forgive, being in compassion and in harmony with each other. Yeah. I don't know from where I started, where I went. Yeah.
That Dr. Basu's conference, I don't know what the topic was, right? About mind, supermind.
Heights of the mind, yeah.
Heights of the mind. I don't remember much, thankfully or sadly. But this one thing, what he had, the quality that he had mentioned about the supermind, that the paradoxes of life will be equally accepted and everything has a place, right? Like you are saying, say the sky is white, and I am saying the sky is black. And it's like true, 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 right? Like there is no need for disharmony. There is no place for any, like it's, false, and even the duality between false and true kind of does not exist because everything is there and yet it's not. It's like, so how you had mentioned in the beginning, about peace and harmony. What a beautiful state to be when I accept everything, right? Because this I can see right now that yes, this is also false. Yes, this is also false. Right now, that what I'm fighting for, tomorrow I'll say, oh, that was kiddish, kind of a thing. So I can see that in a transition. But to recognize that with each moment that I don't have a stand, right? I don't have a stand. There's no wall that resists. It's very beautiful, right? Like just even the thought of such a state is so beautiful. This term that's mentioned, soul of the Sankhya, I don't know this.
Actually, I think it's referring to the Sankhya philosophy.
अच्छा Sankhya.
जिसमें Purusha Prakriti का mention है, like this, the witnessing soul and the active aspect. I think referring to that.
समझ आ रहा, मैं सांख्यास पढ़ रही थी तो हाँ, yeah. Not that I know much of that, but yeah, at least. So passively luminous soul of Sankhyas and their mechanically active energy have nothing in common. So that's such a nice passively luminous mechanical active energy.
You remember Dr. Basu had shared, it came out very strongly when he had shared that why do we have this confusion in life? And on that, again, in maybe the same workshop, he had shared that consciousness has separated from force. Yeah. So Sat, Chit, Anand, Now, Sri Aurobindo refers to it as Chachit Shakti that he had shared, that in Sri Aurobindo's integral philosophy, it's not Satchitanand, but Satchit Shakti Ananda. And Chit Shakti, when we talk about Chit, is consciousness. Shakti would be the divine mother, Aditi, or the force, the life force. And usually whenever, so Purusha, Prakriti, and again in Savitri, we have the mention, the two who are one. So again and again indicating that it appears that they are different two poles, as if passively luminous soul and the active, Prakriti. It appears that they are two different movements, but they are actually one. It's just what we say, maybe an illusion of Maya that creates this difference, that this is a blind mechanical movement, but actually it is also a conscious force. And in us, that's what we have to do, since the Purusha has forgotten himself. Again, Savitri, we were reading that the Purusha has surrendered to the force of Prakriti willfully for the play. So in us, what we have to do is, I have to become conscious of myself. That's what we talk about, waking up to our own self. So if I become conscious of myself, if I know myself as consciousness, and if I truly stabilize myself there, then it is not possible that I remain powerless. It is not possible that I remain separated from the Shakti. The usually we lose power, we, in expecting and demanding from life, we remain powerless, helpless creature of this vast universe. But when I know myself as consciousness, in fact, in any particular moment, in my experience, if in any particular moment, if I'm able to stabilize myself as consciousness, somehow it happens that I regain my power back. If you would have, felt that. And then I'm not feeling powerless or weak, even if the situations may not be in accordance to the limited mind. Even then you reclaim the power back. So that I somehow, in this limited aspect of the individual, to me, it relates with the consciousness force aspect, that the moment I connect knowingly with the consciousness, I also become the force. But when I'm forgetful of this possibility, then I also do not have the force. So I remain weak in my life. Have I lost you?
No, it's so, my God, it's like, look at the, what do you call it? I'm forgetting the word, but like say, I am God, right? And there are these powers that every minute are trying to tell me I'm small, I'm small, I'm small. Zuzrat is the word I was looking for, that I am God. And they say this is so close that I don't see it, right? And I am made to feel every moment through divisions, right? They have to make me feel small, in the sense, whatever is this play, like not have to, but I feel small or not it, by all this, right? That okay, this is not okay, this is not okay. I keep this small keeps coming and trying to drag me down with it, that it wants me to identify with it, and it's like a slippery slope for me. That okay, acha, I'm just this, I'm just this, I'm just this, every moment forgetting that I am God. And whenever I, even for moments, like you were so beautifully sharing, that when I associate myself, not associate, but remember that, the thoughts are in me. I am not thought. That is the moment when I remember I'm not it. I am it. I'm not it. I'm not my feelings. So that moment I regain my power and I say, no, no. You're trying to fool me, but no, no. And that ways I was also feeling that how with the story of the Mahabharata or Ramayana, everything is so symbolic. Like, this is such a major part now, when Hanuman is reminded that, oh, you don't remember your powers, oh, you don't remember your powers. And suddenly, he can cross the whole ocean just with the reminder that you're more. Remember, Anjani put through the whole thing that was shown, that how I also, every time have to be reminded by myself or by circumstances that I too can cross my oceans or the oceans. Nah? It's like we, all of us have to go through those things of so much that was mentioned, and yeah, beautiful. I'm done for the day.
I think that's why the so much of emphasis on Sumiran.
Mm.
I relate this very much that last, if you remember, we had done this specific theme long ago on Sumiran, Kabir Sumiran. And the same thing that we are so forgetful, as you were sharing, so forgetful that in one moment I may be totally it, and something may happen the other moment, and we completely, as if the outer appearance becomes so solid and real that the solidity of me as consciousness totally disappears. And that would be, one can say, the creation of the veil or illusion, that it appears so solid and real, but it's just an appearance. With Tenzing Palmo, on her recent, I think, sharing on doubts, she was sharing that doubts are nothing but empty bubbles. Thoughts are nothing but empty bubbles. But when an ego is trying to take a side, since the ego always wants to take sides, then how can I say that my side is empty bubble? Then it's very hard. So it's a challenge for me to be a partner and slave of the falsehood, which is the ego, and keep buying into solidity of thought and keep taking sides. And as again we discussed, that to be nobody, that I'm neither here nor here. I think that's beautiful. That's beautiful if that happens, because then I'm not sticking to the solidity of thought and feelings, and more like hanging in position, hanging in between, one can say, and not in between any particular poles, but just in between. And although it appears so simple, yet not that simple. And also true freedom, when we talk of true freedom, I see that here, that if I'm not sticking to any particular side, allowing myself to be lightly holding, as she says, holding gently, I am relatively freer and lighter. But the moment I hold on to one point, which happens any moment, I become heavy again. I stick to something or the other again. So remembering the thing that I was sharing, the remembrance of our true nature, that's what masters have reiterated upon. Remember, remember. Mother says, remember and offer, remember and offer. And it takes a time for us to remember and offer. It doesn't come like so naturally. Why? Because the Lord himself, using his free will, has entered into forgetfulness. So this, I think, Dr. Anand Reddy, if I'm not wrong, or maybe we were reading myself since I confused, he was sharing maybe that why is this forgetfulness there in our life? Because the Lord himself has forgotten. So this is what we have to kind of consciously wake up to. Remember, being conscious of each and every moment, and hence remembering who I truly am in each moment possible, in each moment dissociating from the appearances, which are fleeting, thoughts, feelings, sense perceptions, and associating or identifying myself as we were discussing, consciousness, which is again easier said than done, because thoughts appear so real, solid. मेरा भी हो गया.
In this regard, the way the society has been constructed, sadly, I don't know, I mean, it has, I don't know, was like this from the beginning or it has turned into this, that we are told that this competition, right? This me right, you wrong, me achieving more, you achieving less. Like, I've been told that there is just one right, right? And I am the one who's right because I am thinking it and my mind is superior than yours, right? Definitely, because it's mine. right? Like this, we don't come from the space that we all have a place, है ना? Like कितना opposite से शुरू हो रहे हैं, और ये भी हो सकता था कि we come and होगा, I'm sure कि we have that, you know, that necessary to prove a point, this necessity to be called right just goes, right? Okay, you think like that, oh beautiful, अच्छा, I like think like this, okay, you know, it's like सबकी जगह है, everything is allowed and everything is as right as anything, right? Or as wrong, and it doesn't matter because these are just like say empty bubbles, like you were saying, right? एक जैसे जहाँ से शुरू हो रहे हैं वहीं पे बोल दिया गया है कि उससे तेज भागना है और तुम्हें उससे तेज भागना है ना? ये नहीं बताया गया कि सब भाग रहे हैं और रेस अपने से ही है ना? इट्स लाइक बिकॉज वी एड सो मेनी पीपल, दैट्स व्हाई वी गेट लॉस्ट, राइट? इतना इधर उधर देखते हैं भागते वक्त कि खुद को ही नहीं देखते ना. एंड इट्स लाइक या इट्स. And on Sumiran, what Shilpi had shared on the group, right? That Kabir couplet, that नाम
Yeah,
जपन क्यों
नाम जपन क्यों
जीवन
छोड़
क्यों
दिया.
छोड़ दिया.
Yeah.
And नाम जपन है, somebody can take it just as नाम जपन, but it's like, you know, I don't know, it felt as if that in every breath, why do I not see you, right? Because you are the reason why I'm breathing. Why are you not part of my every moment in my existence? And बाकी सब छोड़ दिया, you know, as in बाकी सब पकड़ा हुआ है. Again, that thing about what I consider important and what I have said taken for granted. Na? In yesterday's Friday study circle, also we had touched upon this gratitude, that how I have to be something, right? Because not being, I am not okay. So if I have to be, why not be grateful rather than, because if I'm not in the space of gratitude or devotion, then the space that I go to is the space that disperses me, is the space that sticks me to my stories, right? And gratitude, devotion, it expands me. So I can choose willingly as much as I can to be here rather than the 20 other places that things are trying to pull me. So it was nice, yeah.
So this is where a mother would say, I think, if you want peace, you go to Ramana Ashram, because many people would come from there. It's quite close, not far away from Pondicherry, and
Okay.
many people from Ramana Ashram would go to for mothers and Sri Aurobindo's integral yoga. So there, I think I heard once she's saying to a sadhak that if you want peace, you stay there, and if you want more than peace, beyond, because you know, I think in peace we have a tendency to settle down, like mera ho gaya, and we become almost like again talking of what kind of peace we are talking here, referring to these 4 lines, you know, that she's saying here, he's saying that the only possibility of reconciliation between Maya and the inactive self, which is the witnessing, their rigid antagonism can, मतलब वो कह रही है भाई मैं तो चलूंगी, माया तो कह रही है मैं तो मूव करूंगी, वो कह रही है मैं तो नहीं हिलने वाला, एज इफ ऐसा लग रहा है, you know, कि
Can we read it once also?
yes,
एक बार आप पढ़ दो.
हाँ, Shankara's wordless inactive self and his Maya of many names and forms are equally disparate and irreconcilable entities, as if they have nothing in common. Their rigid antagonism can terminate only by the dissolution of the multitudinous illusion into the sole truth of an eternal silence. So this is a God's dream, and again in the silence it goes, and there is nothing we can do about the dream. But Sri Aurobindo talks about it as a dream fact. So he doesn't say it's a fact, he doesn't say it's a dream, he says dream fact. I think that is very beautiful, because if I totally regard it as a dream, then I can at times say कि मैं कुछ भी करूं चलेगा, मैं मर्डर करूं या कुछ भी करूं, everything is allowed. ड्रीमी तो है, ड्रीमी तो है. But then we cannot put it into a category of either dream or a fact. I think that's where that may be the catch, a little catch. And I've seen people in my life who are really silent, one can say very peaceful, settled in their zones. And one can say that that's it, wow, amazing, so beautiful, peaceful, they have no clash with anything. But then I also see, although that also has a place in each one's evolution, not saying that that doesn't have a place, but I think then also there is hardly any space for improvement of self or a betterment of self, what we talk of in integral yoga, that continuously evolving in the mind, continuously evolving in the emotions, life, continuously evolving in the physical. This evolution then I don't see if I settle down in my peace. So I mean, one can say, what is the calling of my soul in this life? Because since, for example, at Gnostic Center also, why they are not so proactive in reaching out to people is because they say that it's not everyone's calling. While on the other hand, it's amazing contradiction. But on the other hand, there are people working with Mother and Sri Aurobindo's principles and whatever words, and they are trying to disseminate the teaching far and wide to common public, common masses. Now, I think everything has its own purpose, because at Gnostic Center, those people may come who are really resonating and maybe seeking out something. And here they are reaching out on the other hand to masses कि अगर 100 में से चलो 5 भी मिल गए, maybe they are finding something more, good work done. Maybe they have done a bit of service to Mother. So as we were sharing earlier, that everything has its proper place. तो ये भी नहीं कहा जा सकता कि reaching of masses is wrong, और ये भी नहीं कहा जा सकता कि not reaching out actively is wrong. मतलब everything seems to have its proper place and does its job. वो भी अपना काम कर रहा है, ये भी अपने काम कर रहे हैं in their own accord.
This reminds me that maybe I'm talking about 10 years back, 12 years back. I had kept a new intern for Win in India, the company, and there was this guy who was a bit spiritual, and I liked that about him. And he suddenly one day spoke about the art of living, and he said, "Oh, art of living, you follow art of living? Okay, that is only for the rich, And it had never struck me before. And suddenly, when he said that, suddenly I realized that, yeah, I think, that's how they kind of reach out, they market, that's how most people are. I got reminded of my crowd in Vipassana, where it was from. So I think similarly, when you were sharing, one of the centers, again, there's a specific crowd it feels that they are catering towards, both mentally and financially, and and it seems that maybe we all can't do everything for everyone, so I think maybe this division, at one point it looks like a division, and maybe cosmically also some division needs to be there, and that's why they are guided that way, that okay, you focus on this and you focus on that. I don't know, or maybe we are just getting stuck, like anything is a possibility. But yeah, there are certain kind of people one is catering towards, is able to reach out, and not to everyone.
Bilkul, yeah. I think if we consider that each one of us is an extension of divine, which is in actuality a truth, maybe not for us, but a truth. So then it would appear very logical that, okay, this part is able to do this much,
Mm-hmm.
in its own perfection, evolving perfection, doing this part, catering to this side or whatever. And why there is no division? Because all is one, so I am playing with my own self, with my own extensions. So I can say, oh, where is the division? Because it's only me working out. But for me, it appears a division because we look at ourselves as individuals. I think that.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And you know how not once we have how, because we are sticky, right? That's kind of the nature that we keep on sticking to the limits also, you know? Okay, I can reach out here. Okay, see, now I can reach out here. But somehow, even in that thing, we would have limits because somehow that comes, right? Like that comes kind of naturally. If we are not careful to see, okay, again it comes. And maybe it takes time also to see that, that it's so funny. And again, I'm reminded of the look that I got, that I shared, na, कि तुम भी आ जाना. Like as if there's an assessment that was done when I was looked from up to down. कि should I fall, should I not fall? Like it wasn't. And I think that is what stuck me, right? Because it appears to be a place of acceptance. Why is I different from you, right? Like if we are two people standing, it was different, right? Like the hand that extended for the invitation was different. It has to be analyzed. So, yeah, and it wasn't personal, but it was just a fact that okay, here again, it's existing, that division.
Yeah,
It's
this this division thing now that you share, I remember maybe I had shared with you earlier when I was looking for what good can we do as human beings, how, because there has to be something more than research, so that's when I was finishing PhD. And then I really got enchanted because when we are reading the words of masters, we are enchanted. Wow, what a word possible. And I'm reading Krishnamurti's words and I'm saying, wow, is this possible? Is this possible? And again, I think that also serves a purpose because it pushes me, it allows me to explore. So then I explore, for example, various schools that they are. Now I don't realize that the words were spoken by somebody else, maybe who was able to channel the source itself. The work is being done by limited individuals. And as you were sharing about the divisions, in one of the Krishnamurti schools, there was when we went for lunch. So teachers and students, they were sitting, like a big hall in one area. And then there is a partition and then the labor and the staff. And I could not it was something stuck in my throat that, oh my God, how can this happen here? Since coming from the words or the book, which appears like, euphoria. But then I think we slowly realize, the more we see in our own self that there are still divisions, no matter how far may have progressed. I still am limited. I still, stick and have my own weaknesses, which I need to work upon. Then I become more compassionate that, yeah, this is possible. Because then I also see the good that they are doing, that no matter the divisions are still there, there is also some trickling of goodness that is happening. I think that itself is sufficient, that in greater degrees we move towards our own perfection. So yeah, just reminded me of that. And I feel that makes me more accepting, if I can say, to my own weaknesses, to my own limitations. And in turn, I also become very accepting when I see rigid people around me, because I see my own rigidities. And for example, the center close to us here, I see rigidity, but then I don't take it to my heart because, I also have my own rigidities, and the work being done is something of goodness, some here, some there. Yeah.
The interesting part is that, say, the picture that you just painted, right? That all the students here and the staff there, and yet the coordinator of the place would be so proud that, see, all the students coming from different backgrounds, they're sitting together. There's from in his case,
or
like
at least teachers and students sitting together
sitting
like
together,
friends.
like exactly. That would be like, see, in my school, or maybe even this, that they are eating together at the same time, even if there's a division. It's not that they are being fed later on. How it's like baby steps, right? That, like, how there's no perfection is not the point. I mean, that's such a beautiful realization,
Yeah, yeah.
and not a very old one for me, that it's just on and on and on, and it will never end. Yeah.
I think this we see with mother very strongly, this, because when she replaces the word divine for
With
perfection,
perfection, yeah.
I mean, then we realize the limitation, that no matter how far, as she shares prayers and meditations, that the more closer we go to the you escapist, that's the word
Mm,
she uses. So
mm,
same for perfection and same
mm,
for the divine.
mm,
And I think, if I'm not mistaken, Prashant sir had also once used this as if there is this unending ladder
mm,
towards the divine, maybe there, and then unending ladder. Now there is no reaching point, there is no destination. Then how can I say that you are far ahead and I am,
mm,
because there is unending ladder. So मतलब जैसे ही एक लिमिट आ जाती तब मैं बोल सकती हूँ अच्छा तू आगे है मैं पीछे हूँ.
mm,
बट जब लिमिट ही नहीं है, देयर इज forever more and more and more and more, then how can I say that you are more and I am less?
वो तो लैडर की पोजीशन से,
But position in relation to what?
mm, the
Yeah?
ground,
The ground, ground also
ground,
is unending, na?
unending, yeah.
That's the beauty.
Mm,
Matlab, God created everything in his own shadow. So the inconscient is also unending, one can say.
mm,
But then we also know, again,
mm,
reflecting with you, that mother says that in the depths of inconscient, there is hidden light.
mm,
So it appears that here it is bottomless,
mm,
pit, if one can say.
mm,
Here it is unending light. But this bottomless pit also is merging back into this unending light. So mystery again. Not the,
yeah.
yeah.
As above, so below, right? That's, yeah.
ये शायद उसका भी उससे रिलेशन हो सकता है ना, दैट इमेज, वो जो कुछ विष्णु जी और ब्रह्मा जी एंड शिव जी, रिमेम्बर, मे बी यू वुड रिकलेक्ट दैट स्टोरी, दैट दे वांटेड टू नो हु इज स्ट्रॉन्गर और बेटर, विष्णु जी. हाँ, सो वो उसके त्रिशूल होता है शायद शिव जी का, एंड वन गोज हाई अप एंड वन गोज डाउन बिलो. You remember this story?
I don't remember, but I can understand. And then they all come at the same something, huh?
And you can reach him from there, you can
Yeah.
reach him from there.
And
So
then,
that was the basic idea.
yeah, yeah, yeah. In that book, Eat, Love, Pray by Elizabeth Gilbert, she had gone to Thailand to meet a mystical man. And there also he had explained this point quite strongly, that you can go from this way or you can go from this way. But if you have a choice, going from this way is more pleasant, but you'll reach the same place. Yeah.
And I think that's why जब हम depression की बात करते हैं ना, so if I see that if I am still in darkness of the depression, it means I've not yet reached the end or the lighter side, because the more I go deeper, mother also shares that in the depths of your suffering lies hidden a light. So if I have not yet touched that light, it means I've not yet gotten deep enough. I've maybe settled in this intermediate zone, which is dark, dark, dark. And that's why when we talk of pain and suffering, now I can say that, no, I have had enough, don't want it again. But I don't, something in me resists saying that, because if I'm able to traverse, if I've seen once even a light in suffering, then I would not resist suffering coming again, because I know that there also is light. है ना? So when we talk of pain or suffering, all the people who have gone through it, that they would never say, no, I would not want to suffer again. The people who have actually realized something out of their suffering will not be utter it out from their mouth, that do not give me pain again. because they see the beauty of pain also, how, yeah, from where to where. So we want to read here, next one.
Yeah. The materialist has an easier field. It is possible for him by denying spirit to arrive at a more readily convincing simplicity of statement, a real monism, the monism of matter, or else of force. So either he can choose matter or he can choose force, right? That either exists. But in this rigidity of statement, it is impossible for him to persist permanently. He too ends by positioning an unknowable and as inert, as remote from the known universe as the passive Purusha or the silent Atman. Atma. But in this rigidity of statement, it is impossible for him to persist permanently. He can, yeah, okay. He too ends by positioning an unknowable as inert, as remote from the known universe, as the passive Purusha or the silent Atma. It serves no purpose but to put off by a vague concession the inexorable demands of thought, or to stand as an excuse for refusing to expand the limits of inquiry.
क्योंकि मैटर दिखता है, मैटर दिखता है, and that's why scientists, it requires actually a spiritual scientist, one can say, and all these geniuses that we talk of, मतलब they started maybe from matter, but those of the scientists, geniuses, one that those who have gone deeper into science and really kind of got really good truths out of that, I think all of them always also see a kind of a spiritualist bent there, है ना, जैसे Albert Einstein ले लो. So they could not stick to the end that okay, matter is the end, because even if we do go deeper into matter, we realize that matter is not the end. Matter is not the end. जो दिखता है वो नहीं है, मतलब now तो through quantum physics it's more and more palpable, knowing that okay, I go closer to this seeming boundary, this is the boundary, this is where I am ending. And the more closer I go, I see that, oh my God, this is not a boundary. So even there, I can see that my senses deceive. And if my senses deceive, how can I be sure that my thoughts are solid? So with this, I also happen to then question the solidity of my thoughts. So this, materialist aspect. So the materialist has an easier field. It is possible for him by denying spirit, that which cannot be. Now, why am I denying spirit? Because I do not have the instruments through which I can make it palpable. Because it does not get caught in the senses, hence I deny it. तो अब मेरे पास आज तक मैं कोई मशीन ही नहीं बना पाया जिससे मुझे पता लगे आत्मा है. तो मैं क्या करता हूँ, मैं ये करता हूँ कि all the near that experiences I deny कि they may be figments of my imagination, for example, people do that. Yeah. So
and shockingly very intelligent educated people do that even more, right? Because they have this thing that, Arey, matlab, how can you go believe in something which they cannot touch? And it's like the conversation sounds so superfluous that sometimes, like it's happened with me, that I've wondered that, is he saying this? Like really? Like, can he not hear what he's saying? And yet, it amazes me how much, I don't know how much we can refuse to see or feel or deny ourselves to be able to say that, no, I don't believe in, say, reincarnation. I don't believe in God. मतलब the extent it पहले थोड़ा और लगता था, अब ज्यादा अमेजमेंट लगती है कि अच्छा, मतलब आप भी बहुत बढ़िया साइंस में. It's really nice, like how. Yeah. Sorry, I interrupted.
No, bilkul. I think it's in the line only. And now, as we were seeing, even that is for a good.
Yeah.
Why? Because see, as a scientist, I want everything कि मेरे लिए वो मुझे पता होना चाहिए, मुझे पता होना चाहिए. अब मेरे को पता नहीं चल रहा है, इसका मतलब कुछ नहीं है वहां पे. तो अब क्या हो रहा है? It is promoting spirituality or spiritual matters to kind of merge into science, which again, as if they were two ends. So now research, I remember I was very fascinated when I was doing my own research. I was fascinated by Dur ke Dhol Suhavne. So I was fascinated by other labs which were doing behavioral research, neuroscience, that, okay, how are my emotions impacting my mind, and how is meditation impacting my mind? So all this research I became interested in, that wow, acha, aise bhi research possible hai. Because for me, that was a link between what I felt was true and what we can assess. So as we see now, that also has led to something good, because now, as we were seeing in that video earlier, that Buddhist monks or spiritualists have come down to in connect with scientists, that okay, now you check that, has my meditation any effect on my brain at all? Because brain you can sense with your electrodes. So now you give intense heat to me, and then you say, oh my God, nothing really is happening in the brain. It comes and then it vanishes, disappears. While for the other person who is a non-meditator, and meditation, we can say it's beneficial, not beneficial, I don't know. Now I have a proof that the more I stabilize myself as consciousness, as awareness, it also impacts the calmness of my mind, the peace of my mind, and how disturbing anything outward can become for me. That is also in my hands. So good and good, both sides. So we started as refuting what is spirituality. Then we stumbled upon, okay, let me check, give me a proof, which appeared very maybe insane. Why do you need a proof? Why can't you see it? And then I see, okay, proof le lo. Proof be available hai. So I think that's again, like we see this merging of matter and spirit.
Yet where we are, because it's like, they will give us what we want to hear. Like this thing we saw in a documentary, right, which is hardly visible. And yet each and every bad thing is there on the, like, why was this not front page news? Like just, just saying this, like, okay, this has been discovered. Like this could be like really a good, but no, because it's like, it doesn't sell. It's like somehow, I don't know, because the society, it's like, somehow because it feels that the way I am, if I remain that means that I am right. Right? Like, if I am used to chaos and I can show more chaos, that yes, you believe everything is chaos. See, 10 more reasons for you to believe it's chaos. It strengthens me, right? My stance needs to be strengthened irrespective of whether it's right or wrong. That one sees, right? And how long will these things be hidden? I mean, obviously it would come out.
I think I also see that as in my own self, I see a movement from an ignorant ill will to a conscious ill will,
Mm.
and now ready to transmute it to goodwill.
Mm.
I think in world also, since world is nothing but a reflection of my own self, we see that we are ignorantly not wanting benefit of each other. And then we have to slowly become conscious that, oh my God, what are we doing by spreading such news? Is it benefiting others? I can also put, as you said, this news in like big solid papers. And why? Because I want benefit of others and my own self. And slowly that would also be sold, because, so I think just like we say that we cannot be human with not everyone turning human. I can be human and rest everything can go to drain. That is not going to happen. तो वो दिखता भी है, and ये भी दिखता है that no matter how far we may have gone, we have so much left undone, which needs transmutation. And I cannot become divine, leaving rest of the things around me undivine. So there I also kind of feel of the need of taking charge, in whatever capacity, taking charge of our own little community, our own little locality, in whatever little measure, like a pin drop measure, I can make a change. And not to doubt it, because जैसे ये होता है ना कि I can make a change, तो एकदम से आते हैं कि who am I to make a change? And I was talking to a friend and I told her very obviously, Manika, don't you think that you beat yourself too often? And I think this is also ego. Because mother says that not to be too modest about your work and not to be too proud about your work. So can't I find a middle place that, okay, I know that I can do it. I am capable enough. Let me take the charge. Now, why to keep saying, no, I'm not good enough. I'm not confident enough. I may do mistakes. So everybody does mistakes. And then maybe she kind of resonated with it that she doesn't need to beat herself up. That would only do us good if we take the charge without beating ourselves. Because we don't realize that that is also work of ego, wanting to have more attention. That's, look, I'm not good enough. So appreciate and, whatever, bring me out. Yeah. And in that, I also, unfortunately, in saying I'm not good enough, I'm good enough, what I do is I'm actually throwing stones on the divine, that whatever little gift I've got, I'm not able to make use of that. तो हिंदी में, पंजाबी में कहते हैं रब नू वट्टे मारने वाली बात है. Have you heard that? As if you're pelting stones on the divine, if you say that. That not being grateful for the gifts that everyone has got.
Does mean nothing is happening to the divine. It's just I am really wasting time, right? Standing
Exactly.
and throwing stones and throwing
at
them
my own self.
They're coming back at me only.
And feeling miserable on the way. Then wondering why am I feeling.
And then saying that मेरे को stones गिर रहे हैं देखो. है ना? Not saying. I mean, look at the visual, right?
Yeah.
Not recognizing that I am the one throwing stones and then complaining that I'm getting hit by stones and God is cruelly hitting me with stones.
Yeah. So what I have to become conscious of is that this movement that is happening. जो start है, in my blindness, I don't see the belting movement. So this is the beauty. I think this is what we were discussing, that science. But in this rigidity of statement, it is impossible for him to persist permanently. So even if I stick to matter, I cannot stick to matter because matter also has no ends. So I would go deeper and I would not be able to stick to monism of matter, that this is all there is. I'll go deeper into it. Just like, we were discussing maybe the other day, God's particle, there is this big. And when I was studying, there was actually much hula baloo about it, that, in CERN in Geneva, Switzerland, there is this big underground thing happening, big tunnel happening, and they're trying to figure out God's particle, then it appeared very fascinating. And even now, the nitty-gritties may be fascinating, but the whole idea of man, look at the arrogancy, I would say, of us, to know that one day I would be able to have God particle in my, I think that idea itself is so arrogant. That itself is saying that this is something bigger than what I have in hand. But at the moment, I don't see the impossibility of it. But I think that also has some purpose to serve, in our evolution. So he too ends, the materialist can end, since he cannot, with his own instruments and everything, he cannot go far enough. It appears that he too ends by positing an unknowable as inert. Spirit, I cannot know spirit. So it must be inert, not active. As remote from the known universe, which is the material universe, the appearances, whatever I get in touch through the senses, as the passive Purusha. So it may be that he's there, but he's inert. He has nothing to do with the materialist aspects or the silent Atman. So we see very strongly this disconnect between the materialist aspect and the indwelling spirit. It may be there, but since I don't know, it is beyond my knowing. So why to go there? It serves no purpose but to put off by a vague concession. So I'm giving a vague concession. What is a concession? It served no purpose but to put off by a vague concession the inexorable demands of thought, or to stand as an excuse for refusing to extend the limits of inquiry. Beautiful, beautiful. So it means, मतलब जो मुझे लग रहा है इसमें ये है कि the more I even extend my inquiry and thoughts, if I'm ready to leave my earlier comfort zones as a scientist, it is actually possible for me to go deeper and to connect the two seeming opposite ends. So this is an excuse. So if I say that Atman is something which I cannot know, I will ever know, and the material is only that I can know, so let me be here, and not even try to go there. This is just an excuse for refusing to extend the limits of inquiry. So if I extend my inquiry enough, if I extend my inquiry into zones maybe in which I have never gone, it is possible for me sooner or later to go deeper into even the silent Atman and to kind of join them, see the joining happening. But since this does not happen, he's saying that it is an excuse that I am so comfortably settled that matter is the only thing and this is what is there, nothing else, that I have, again, as we were discussing, that we are sticky in nature. So as a scientist, I have stuck to this aspect and I don't want to limit the extent of my inquiry, and hence, okay, unknowable, I cannot know it.
One thing is unknowable, which is still good that I say, if I say it's unknowable, that means I understand that I cannot know it, right? But mostly what we do is we say it does not exist. Right? We don't say it's unknowable. Huh? Mostly if it's, especially if we're not using the scientist thing. Okay, rebirth, I don't see it. It doesn't exist. Yeah, God, I don't see it. He doesn't exist. And the weird thing is, this is what I call me being intelligent. Because I cannot see, I say it does not exist. So I don't see that this is my limitation, that I can't see it. I say that no, me standing on my mountain top or my mansion, because I can't see, it does not exist. How the same thing can be taken anywhere. And obviously, there's a potential that today I'm saying it does not exist, and tomorrow I'll recognize it was I who could not see, like not saying it would not happen. And yet, how my mind is able to turn the situation and say that, "Arey, ये तो है ही नहीं." It's kind of disregarding it. And in the name of intelligence and facts and education, like using these fancy terms to actually take myself further down, or not, maybe not further down, but not go where I'm capable of going.
This actually just reminded me that once I heard, good that these conferences are now happening, where integrating of spirituality and science and is happening. They have been happening for many years now. So I had heard something by Rupert Spira in beginning, this conference. There are few words here I've kind of found out, not the video, maybe I'll find the video later, but here, maybe we can. So he is beginning, science and non-duality conference. So he's beginning, I think this is the beginning note. This is very, so he's saying that the first thing I want to say, and I'm afraid this is going to be a little disappointing because he knows that there are scientists there in front, is that we are going to hear and speak a great many words this week about nature of consciousness. And not a single one of them is going to be absolutely true, because a scientist wants like tuck, 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 and he's sharing that whatever I'll be sharing is like just hints and clues. It's not the exact, thing. So again, I think not going into detail further because it's a long thing. We can do it in silence later. But maybe it was this or not, because yeah, there was something which really attracted me, the way he opened that conference. Maybe I'll find it later. Yeah. So shall we close here? Okay.
Yeah.
हाँ, एक मिनट. हाँ, okay. Let's close here. ठीक है.